Hi, Jasmine ji. Thank you so much for coming live on my channel.
Hi, Nikita. It's wonderful to be live on your channel. Thank you for having me.
Great. So, I was just going through your profile and I simply love the line which you had written, eat with confidence, right? So basically it says that, you need to be mindful when you are eating, and I'm sure your whole concept, the business concept is around that. But before we get into the business, I want to know more about your journey, as in how you got started, when did you come up with this idea, when did you start your business, why did you start your business?
Sure, absolutely. And I think you somehow managed to pick just the right line. Eating with confidence is really all about, what we do as a brand. The brand that I run is Green Snack. And
Right.
that's really what it's all about. And it sort of started from a personal journey. I
Hmm.
mean, while of course I have close to a decade of corporate experience, but I've
Hmm.
always had this, sort of personal struggle with health and fitness and weight loss and trying to be a certain weight and a certain size and all of that. And that's a struggle that's been personal to me for almost 2 decades now. And I'd sort of yo-yoed from one place to the other. I've been extremely fit, running marathons and being, at my peak fitness levels, and also on the other end of the spectrum. Um, and I think one of the things I realized over time is that, irrespective of what weight or size you are, what's extremely important is whatever it is that you're eating, you need to eat it with confidence. You need to eat it with happiness. You need to feel good about yourself, no matter where you are in the health and fitness journey, because you never really truly get there. There's always that extra weight to lose. There's always that extra sort of, health goal to achieve, and so on. So I think eating with confidence is something that's critical, and that is probably the most difficult thing for most of us, and especially with social media and with the way we've been sort of brought up. We're never really sort of able to achieve that ultimate goal of how we want to be. At least that's how it was for me personally. And I've had I mean, I have a fairly Punjabi background upbringing. I've sort of, I used to, back when I was non-vegetarian, I used to be on a butter chicken diet most of the time. And then I've had my share of carbs for a few lifetimes, I think. So yeah, so I've had
Right.
those struggles, and I didn't want other people to have those struggles, or at least I wanted to be able to help people become better, healthier versions of themselves. So,
True.
business is not about losing weight. It's not about losing a couple of inches from your waist or getting those abs. It's really just about becoming a better version of yourself, or a healthier, or fitter version of yourself, which is what I realized I was really trying to do all this while.
True.
So as a business, we want to help people in becoming better versions of themselves, and that's really what the ethos of the brand really is. And I started out because, like I said, since I was always sort of in the midst of either trying to lose weight or doing something or the other.
Hmm.
I realized that while I would typically plan my meals very well, I sort of
Hmm.
calorie count everything and my protein in place and my carbs in place and all of that. But it's that evening snacking time when I would end up derailing my diet. I would end up having, grabbing the next packet of chips or biscuits or whatever came my way. And that's when I said, why can't there be a truly, authentically healthy snack, which is also very
Hmm.
tasty at the same time? Because at least I don't want to put anything in my mouth that doesn't taste good. And there's no reason
True.
why healthy food and healthy ingredients and superfoods can't taste good. There's absolutely no reason that that should be the case. So it was really to change that, and to help myself and other people like me who had that
Hmm.
struggle. So that was really a very long answer, but that's really the reason I started out.
So tell me, like you said, right? You had your cups for a lifetime. What was that moment when you actually decided, you know what? Because I'm not getting the healthier version of the snack. Wait, let me create something of my own and help other people, right? So was there a one particular moment in your life that gave you that idea, or you always wanted to become an entrepreneur, You were just seeking the idea, and then you ended up with this beautiful idea. How was it?
Actually, that is exactly how it happened. The second thing that you mentioned, I'd always had this itch to start out. So right after college, I almost started out at that point. While I had a cushy job, etc. But I wanted to start out on my own, and I had almost started out with a friend who unfortunately backed out last moment because of personal reasons, and that didn't really take off. So I sort of continued with whatever I was doing and basically worked in the corporate sector for a while. But I'd always had this major itch to do something on my own. And at one point, when I was working in the corporate sector for a while, I finally sort of told myself that I need to do something of my own, and if I don't take that plunge now, I'm never really going to do it. And I was hitting 30, and I said, if now I'm hitting 30, and if I don't do it now, it's just never going to happen. So it was just this mental sort of thing that now is a good time to take that plunge, and if not now, then never. So I literally sort of wrote my resignation a few months in advance and told myself, this is what I'm hitting send, and I need to figure out what I want to do, what I want to do, and what sort of a
Sure.
business I want to start up. But so I didn't know exactly what I would come up with, but I was very clear that it would be in the health and fitness space. And I studied health and nutrition for a while before starting out, and that was predominantly because of my own interest in the space. So
Wow.
I understood the nitty gritties of nutrition and health and all of that. And then I sort of started out, and initially the first year was really a lot of exploration. I at that point I remember cold pressed juices were doing really well, and it was becoming like quite a trend. And I evaluated that. I evaluated a whole other bunch of things. But like I said, because for me the personal issue was always, it's at snacking time in the evening when I'm always going off my diet, or whatever my healthy lifestyle is. It doesn't have to be a diet, but essentially my health routine would get derailed at that point. I said, this is something that is not available. The so-called healthy snacks that are available aren't either truly healthy, or the stuff that is truly healthy is somehow just tasting like cardboard. And I didn't want I wanted to change that. So that's when I said, let's do this. And that's when I sort of did a little bit of research. At that point I remember kale chips was a product that was doing extremely well overseas. It was one of the top
Mm-hmm.
healthy snacks, in the US and UK. And I didn't know if it would work, but
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody from overseas coming. I asked them to get me a small Excalibur dehydrator. I sourced some kale
Mm-hmm.
locally. I just saw some recipes online. Pretty much just made a few batches on my own. Took them to a few food markets, few food pop-ups, and got a really good response. And then sort of
Mm-hmm.
started from there. I was literally operating out of my kitchen for many months before we ventured out. The word sort of got out, and kale chips suddenly
Mm-hmm.
sort of became popular, at least in the south of Mumbai. And
Mm-hmm.
started getting a lot of calls saying, we want more of your product. And we got a call from one of the large retail chains saying the owner of the retail chain tried the product through a friend, and they want to stock it in the store. And that's when we said, okay, we need to really get out and get a commercial unit, and there's potential legs to this, and sort of start out. And that's really how we got our FSI license, and then we set up a small commercial facility. And then of course, over a period of time, we've launched many more products. We've got a whole range of quinoa puffs and roasted namkeens, makhanas, trail mixes, etc. Now it's been almost we're more than 6 years in the journey.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really how
So,
it started.
that's amazing. You mentioned it's 6 years in this company, right? Uh, I happened to run a poll on LinkedIn and ask, what is that one question you would like me to ask women entrepreneurs who are coming on my show? So everybody asked me this question, okay, saying that, how do you keep yourself motivated? Because like it's been 6 years, right? It can't be just up 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 up. I'm sure just for a month, just for an hour, it has to go down, right? And then you are going back up again. It is a roller coaster ride, right? So what
Absolutely.
keeps you motivated? You have already, been here for 6 years now. So how this journey was and how you keep yourself motivated?
That's such a great question. So the thing is that, well, hopefully you don't have to constantly keep motivating yourself, because at the end of the day, you become an entrepreneur because you really want to and sort of itch to do something.
True.
And more often than not, that something is larger than yourself, right? It's a goal.
True.
It's a larger than life ambition that you have, and you feel like you feel like that's you want to be able to contribute, even if it's in a small way, to the
True.
larger good, or to some sort of a change that you want to attempt to bring about, right? And
Right.
that's really the north star. That's the reason I started out, and that's what I wanted to do. And the reason, you don't really sort of sit, so roller coasters for sure. I mean, there is no question about that. It's been probably more downs than ups, to be honest. Like, I mean, depending on how you look at it, it's not an
Right.
easy journey. I mean, that's for
Absolutely.
sure. Anyone looking to sort of become an entrepreneur must know that it's absolutely not easy. It looks far more glamorous than it truly is. It's very difficult. Having said that, the reason you keep going is because, like I mentioned, that North Star is that larger goal that you want to achieve, and you just feel like you're still so far away from it, and there is just so
True.
much more to do. So every morning you wake up with a new uh, thing to do, a new plan, a new strategy, a new exercise, a new activity, a new attempt at something, and there are obviously a lot of setbacks, a lot of failures, etc. But at the end of the day, because as long as you keep that larger goal in mind, you will get up every day and know that this is what you really want to do. And for me, that has been the sort of the guiding sort of light, or the guiding star. And I know that I'm still not really where or I've not been able to yet achieve what I set out to, and it's still a fairly long way to go. Yeah.
Wow. So tell me, how did digital come into the place? Um, how what are your experience with digital marketing and digital platforms?
Well, digital is certainly the most crucial aspect of any D2C, or even a non D2C business today, for that matter. When we started out many years ago, it was almost entirely offline. In fact, until early 2020, we were almost entirely an offline retail business, and we were essentially available across retail, modern trade, general trade stores in the country as well as internationally. And that's still a good chunk of our business. But obviously, there's been a major pivot that we've made post 2020, post COVID, towards e-commerce and D2C. So that's been a big shift for us as a business. And digital marketing is obviously extremely crucial to the way we run the business, and getting the word out. And today, obviously, far more people are purchasing online, and they're far more comfortable purchasing online than they ever have been before. I mean, brands have grown at a massive pace, and I think customers now are looking at brands that can communicate effectively with them, online across different platforms. So as a brand, we're obviously, I mean, we sell through our own website, we sell through various marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart and so on, and there's Q-commerce, through which we sell. And in terms of digital platforms, for social media, we're there on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Is also something that we use. So these are multiple platforms for us. From a social media communication point of view, Instagram is something that works quite well, because our audience is, uh, a lot of people who are on Instagram are basically our audience. So and they're constantly looking for brands that are innovative, that are coming up with new products that are
True.
healthier. Especially post COVID, there's been this whole thing of people being a lot more conscious about their diet and lifestyle, and more careful about their health, and more mindful about what they eat, etc. So that's certainly a trend that's helped us in a big way.
Great. So, like you mentioned, right, Instagram has worked for you. So, how do you plan the content for Instagram? Is it pre-planned for whole month? Is it spontaneous? How do you plan the content?
So typically we pre-plan for at least a few weeks in advance. A lot of times it's at least for about 2 to 3 weeks we tend to plan the content in advance, if not for the entire month. And the kind of content that we do is a combination of regular posts that go on our feed. We do a lot of influencer content. We create a lot of reels, which also work very well on Instagram. So a lot of influencer based reel content is something that we look at. We do videos, we do lives with fitness experts and health experts, and other people who have expertise in this in health and nutrition. And of course there's stories, which is where we also put out a lot of content. So we use many of these sort of formats to put out content, of which I would say certainly reels is something that tends to do well. We also do a lot of collabs with other brands, so other
Okay.
like-minded startups or health brands across categories that our consumer would sort of relate to. So we, whether it's in beverages or it could be in coffee, it could be some other category, but we do a lot of cross brand collabs as well. So altogether, the idea is to keep it engaging, the idea is to keep
True.
it interactive. We also get a lot of user generated content where customers write into us, and they send us videos of them consuming the products. And we've got a whole range of trail mixes, so we get a lot of feedback from customers saying, I went on this trek, and we took this box of trail mixes, and we shared it with friends, and we had a party with Canva. So we also have a lot of user generated content that comes our way, so that's something that we use as well. So overall, the idea is to
Awesome.
keep it engaging, to keep it fun, to really sort of keep it approachable. And as a brand, we want to obviously come across as an approachable brand. And yeah,
Great.
so that's really what we do.
Awesome. I promise this is one last question. So, tell me, if any women entrepreneur wants to take a plunge of getting into business, or women who wants to enter entrepreneurship or take up entrepreneurship, what one message you would like to give it to them in order, or in order to encourage them?
Sure. I would say that if your heart calls for it, by all means, go for it. I think that success and failure are not certain. I mean, the outcome is never going to really be certain. You're never really going to know whether it's going to work out or not work out, and to what extent, and how successful can you be, and whether it'll become a unicorn, or whether it'll be in the somewhere in the middle, or what's really going to happen. So you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But if you have the itch, if you have the urge to do something of your own, by all means, go for it. And do it with a lot of confidence, do it with a lot of love for what it is that you want to do, and what is the shift that you want to see, or what is the change that you want to make, or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's just making money, and that's good enough as well. So by all means, go for it. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that should stop you. And there will be ups and downs, but keep going. I think the main thing is you've got to be persistent as an entrepreneur, whether it's a male or a female, getting into entrepreneurship. The one thing that's super critical is perseverance. You have to keep at it.
True.
It's not going to be all rosy. But if you sort of see it through, if you, through the ups and downs, if you wake up every day and say, I'm still going to give it another shot, you'll certainly get to, the goal that you've set for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was so wonderful. Thank you, Jasmine ji, for this lovely conversation, and all those who are watching live. Thank you so much joining us live. If you have any question, do post it in the comment. I'm sure we'll get back and reply. Thank you so much, Jasmine ji, for doing this. I hope you achieve all the success in business. All the best.
Thank you so much. I wish you the same.
Thank you.
And yeah, it was wonderful being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.